Well, I just watched it. First of all, I think Eubank done it to make a point with the egg, because we all know what happened with the egg. Conor ate eggs that were tainted, allegedly, and they therefore his drug test, he failed.
Failing the drug test,
So, you know, it's
Steve Collins, the former champion who famously triumphed over both Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, has shared his thoughts on the intense rivalry unfolding between their sons, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Collins, who made his mark in boxing by defeating the fathers, is now observing the next generation of fighters with both intrigue and caution. Reflecting on Conor Benn's controversial failed drug test, Collins did not shy away from discussing the issue. He emphasized how crucial integrity is in today's boxing world, stressing that accountability is vital for a sport that's already walking a fine line. When asked about a potential showdown between Eubank Jr. and Benn, Collins couldn't help but smile. "I think Eubank could outbox him, but once Benn lands, it could change everything," he remarked. Collins explained that while Eubank Jr. has the footwork, jab, and ring IQ to dominate for several rounds, Benn possesses that one-punch knockout power that could turn the fight on its head. What excites Collins the most is how closely the sons mirror their fathers. He sees not just similarities, but near replicas of the fierce competitors he once battled in the ring. For Collins, this upcoming clash is more than just a fight. It's a battle of legacies, laden with pressure, pride, and the significance of names that have shaped British boxing. This match isn't only about determining a winner. It's about who will carry forward the legacy of their father into the future of the sport.
The really are carbon copies of their dads, definitely. Yeah, you know, Nigel Benn Sr. was raw, and when he hit, he hurt. He was dangerous, and Chris Eubank Sr. was clever and was very durable. So the two sons are a reflection of their father. So it's.
But Benn has that one-punch knockout ability, the type of power that can dismantle a strategy in an instant. What excites Collins the most is how much these two fighters resemble their iconic fathers. It's not just about seeing some similarities. He perceives them as near reflections of the fierce warriors he once faced in the ring. For Collins, this fight goes beyond just a contest. It's a battle of legacies. A contest filled with pressure, pride, and the significance of names that have helped shape British boxing. This match isn't solely about who claims victory. It's about who can carry their father's legacy into a new chapter of the sport.
Eubank was fun. I'm a very big supporter of British Boxing Board of Control. I know a lot of guys have worked there, and I think it's a great organisation. And I believe they fined him £100,000 for that action. I think that's a bit unfair. I think it's a big fine. I think they should give him a fine, a slap on the wrist, and an apology. I think charging him 100 grand for that is it's a bit steep, and I don't really agree with that. Although I do support them in a lot of the decisions they make, I kind of think that one's a bit hard, and I think they should retract that and just give him a slap on the wrist, charge him a few bob, and just get on with it, because it's all part of the build-up. He didn't punch him, didn't do anything crazy, he didn't headbutt him. He hit him with an egg, to wind him up, I think.
However, Benn possesses that one-punch power, the kind of force that can completely disrupt a game plan in an instant. What stands out to Collins most is how much these two fighters reflect the legacies of their renowned fathers. He doesn't just notice parallels, he sees almost identical images of the fierce competitors he once battled in the ring. For Collins, this isn't just another fight, it's a monumental clash of legacies. A battle filled with immense pressure, pride, and the weight of names that have played a pivotal role in defining British boxing. It's not just about who wins. It's about who will carry forward their father's legacy into a new era.
He slaps an egg off the side of his head, which I don't like, and I think is a bit dangerous and stupid. It takes it to another level commercially, and like I said, it's out of control, if I'm being totally honest. God help it fight week, because I think the whole country's just going to be engulfed in it. I think it'll be on the front page and the back page of every paper. And it's huge, because of the legacy and the name that their fathers carried, and now they've actually took it themselves to another personal level. Tony, what's gone on with the whole.
But Benn has that game-changing punch, The kind of knockout power that can completely erase a strategy in an instant. What fascinates Collins the most is how closely these two fighters mirror their legendary fathers. He doesn't just notice some similarities. He sees near reflections of the fierce warriors he once faced in the ring. For Collins, this isn't just another fight. It's a showdown of legacies. A battle filled with pressure, pride, and the weight of names that helped shape the history of British boxing. It's not just about who wins, but about who can continue their father's legacy into the next generation.
You're a cheat, and there's no hiding it, there's no forgetting it. This will stay with you for the rest of your life. Getting that snapshot of him, with the yolk dripping down the side of his chin piece, and he's gritting his teeth, I'm gonna make a t-shirt of that. That image is gonna stay with him for the rest of his life. And that's what kids will see. If you treat with jugs, you're gonna pay for it.
But Ben has that one-punch knockout ability. The kind of power that can completely alter the course of a fight in an instant. What excites Collins most is how closely these two fighters resemble their iconic fathers. He doesn't just notice similarities. He sees almost exact reflections of the fierce warriors he once competed against. For Collins, this isn't just another fight. It's a battle of legacies, brimming with pressure, pride, and the weight of names that helped shape British boxing history. It's not just about who comes out on top. It's about who will carry their father's legacy into a new era.
I think they're gonna go in there and it's gonna be no holds barred. Literally. I just hope these two don't see each other before the fight comes. I wouldn't like these two to see each other in the street or bump into each other shopping around London or whatever. I think it's that volatile.
Amidst the chaos, Tony Bellew praised Chris Eubank Jr. for mastering something that few fighters ever achieve: total psychological control. Eubank Jr. wasn't simply going up against Conor Benn. He was playing a game of chess with the media, controlling the narrative and getting into Benn's head before a single punch was thrown. Bellew summed it up perfectly. He's got the press, the crowd, and even Conor dancing to his tune. With a legacy at stake, decades of family rivalry, and the immense weight of public expectation, Bellew believes this fight is more than just a bout. It's a cultural spectacle, one of the most significant showdowns in British boxing history. But as the anticipation builds, so does the pressure. Bellew made it clear that this burden isn't shared equally. While both fighters have a lot to lose, he feels Eubank Jr. is walking a much thinner line. If he slips, Bellew warned, the fall will be far greater, the backlash louder, and the consequences more severe for Eubank Jr. for him. This fight is not only about winning, it's about reputation, redemption, and revenge. The pressure is immense, and the room for error is non-existent.
Go, Tony, after it.
Oh. Well, I think, if I'm being brutally honest, there's only pride to lose for Conor Benn. I mean, for Chris Eubank Jr., he's got everything to lose. If he gets beat or knocked out off a welterweight and he's a middleweight/super middleweight, then he is going to be in a world of trouble.
Tony Bellew explained that for Conor Benn, this fight is primarily about pride, stepping up in weight and taking a bold shot at redemption. But for Eubank Jr., the stakes are far higher. Losing to a natural welterweight could seriously damage his reputation, and the aftermath would be difficult to bounce back from. It's not just about a loss. It's a career setback that's hard to recover from. Bellew emphasized the immense pressure Eubank is facing, which only adds to the intensity of the fight. Emotions are running high, and legacies are at stake. However, Bellew also pointed out the other driving force behind this spectacle: money. With big names, huge drama, and even larger paydays on the table, the financial rewards only serve to fuel an already explosive rivalry.
It really is. But like I said before, it's egos, it's pride at stake, it's family names, and I mean, ultimately, let's all just be brutally honest. This is happening because of the money.
Tony Bellew explained that for Conor Benn, this fight is primarily about pride, moving up in weight and seizing an opportunity for redemption. But for Eubank Jr., the stakes are much higher. A loss to a natural welterweight could severely damage his reputation, and the consequences would be difficult to overcome. It's not just a defeat, It's a career setback that would be hard to explain away. Bellew highlighted the immense pressure Eubank is under, which adds to the intensity of the fight. Emotions are running high, and legacies are on the line. However, Bellew also reminded everyone of the underlying factor behind this spectacle: money. Big names, dramatic storylines, and even bigger paydays are driving the fight. The financial rewards only add more fuel to the already explosive rivalry.
So much more to lose for Eubank Jr. than there is for Conor. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that the only reason Eubank Jr. will win is because of size, because it's not. This is a fight, in my opinion, of two halves. The first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds. If he is able to absorb what Conor Benn is able to dish out for 6 rounds, the fight then turns in his favour, because the second 6, that's when size...
Bellew explained that while Eubank Jr. faces more pressure, the outcome of the fight won't come down to just size or weight. He views it as a contest of 2 distinct halves. In the early rounds, he believes Conor Benn's speed and aggression could overwhelm Eubank. However, if Eubank can survive that initial storm, Bellew predicts that the momentum will shift in the later rounds, where Eubank's size, strength, and experience could start to take control. For Bellew, the crucial question isn't who starts stronger, but who can finish stronger. After breaking down the fight round by round, Tony Bellew shifted focus to Chris Eubank Jr.'s style. While many view Eubank as confident and flashy, Bellew offered a more raw and honest perspective. He stripped away the bravado and examined the fighter beneath, offering sharp insights into what Eubank brings to the ring and where he might fall short. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.
He's a better fighter than he is a boxer. Technically, he's not very good. I don't know where he gets off on thinking he's the second coming of Roy Jones Jr., because he's not. And as for Conor, he knows what he is. He goes in and he lets his hands go. And he's reckless and he's wild and he can be explosive and dynamic. All of them things he's going to need in this fight, Chris Eubank Jr. And he's going to need a little bit more as well. He's going to have to be rough, rugged, and he's not going to...
Bellew didn't hold back. Eubank Jr. may not be the slickest boxer, but when things get chaotic, that's when he's at his most dangerous. The wildness, the grit, the unpredictability, that's where Eubank thrives. But Bellew cautioned that against someone like Benn, that won't be enough. Eubank will need to dig deep and survive. He views the fight as a test of endurance. Eubank tends to come alive after 6 rounds. Bellew said if he survives the early onslaught, the later rounds could be his, where his size, toughness, and experience will take charge. That's when the real damage can be done. Even rising prospect Moses Atama couldn't choose a side. He feels it's the unpredictability of this fight that makes it a must-watch. What about you? Team Benn or Team Eubank? Drop your pick in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more raw, unfiltered boxing coverage. War is coming.